Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Unbreakable Her podcast, where we make space for the stories of resilient women. I am very excited today to have an incredible guest share her story. I met Dr. Goel when I was still pregnant with Cameron. My husband and I were trying to decide who his pediatrician would be because we wanted to make sure we had that nailed down before he was born. And we had a chance to meet with her. And I always ask my healthcare providers how they came to their specialty. And so she told me a little bit of her story in that meeting. And since then, it's always stuck with me. And I'm really, really thankful that she has agreed to share some of it on our episode today. So, Dr. Goyle, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's an honor, really.
Yeah, this is very, very exciting for me. So I have had the opportunity to get to know you a little bit over time. Full disclosure, I know Dr. Goyle because she is Cameron's pediatrician. And I have said this over and over. If you know me personally, you have heard me talk about Dr. Goyle because when Cameron was born, I didn't have any children. My husband didn't have any children. We did not know what we were doing. And it was the pandemic. And so a lot of, and Cameron was sick often. So we saw Dr. Goyle all the time because Cameron was sick a lot. So she guided us through how to handle, he had a lot of upper respiratory stuff. He had ear infections, a lot of things that even to this day still aren't explained. But just navigating all of that was very tough. But one of the things that she did was she held our hand through the process of like learning how to parent him in a more medically fragile kind of a state. So because it was COVID, she would advise us often, if this is not really an emergency situation, we don't want him in a hospital because he's fragile. It's COVID. There are germs. We don't want him to actually get more sick. And so she really taught us how to manage his care at home, which was incredibly helpful. And the other thing I'll say before we get into the episode, and as you can see, I just think so highly of her. I could ramble on. The other thing that was really, really important is that Dr. Goyle positions herself as she really functions like a teacher. So she doesn't position herself as like, I have all the answers and I know all the stuff. Like, I went to med school, you didn't. Listen to me. I know you don't. But she taught us to trust ourselves as parents and taught us that we are actually the experts on our son. So it has really been an incredible relationship. He just had his annual physical last week, and just to see his growth, she's been an incredible part of his village. So I just have to say that because a lot of people are going to get to hear the voice or see the face of a person that I've been talking about for years. And I gatekeep. So no, you can't know where she works.
Well, thank you. But I do have to say, as you were telling the story, there was a lot of you in that process too, of feeling that you had the strength within yourself to like take care of this too. Like I could see that happening from the beginning, and you felt comfortable, and I was really, that doesn't happen for everybody.
Yeah. So, I feel like you're a big part of helping like to instill that confidence over time. So again, really, really thankful for that. So one of the reasons why I just thought it would be incredible to have an opportunity for you to share your story is because it's really an incredibly big and moving story. And so I want to start from a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up, and kind of walk us into how you decided that you wanted to become a physician.
Okay. So I grew up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in suburbia. Nothing, a great place to grow up, I guess, but nothing too exciting there. My parents had come from India in the 1970s, and my mom is a physician, and she was going through her pediatric residency when I was young. So probably 5, 6, 7, I kind of like some of my time after school would be spent at the office, her hospital sometimes too. And she'd show me some of the babies in the NICU. I'd like look through the window who she was taking care of, or I would be in the playroom until she was done with work. And all through that time, my sister and I mean, I think some of it, my mom was working a lot and we were together, but we also recognized from a young age that she was doing such a great job, like, giving us independence, but the care we needed and still going through residency, and happy with what she was doing.
Mm,
Yeah, so really kind of as I was growing up, I was watching that. My mother always kind of instilled in my sister and I, like, I don't care who you marry or what you do, as long as you can stand on your own 2 feet,
mm,
emotional and financially. Like we heard this probably once a month related to something.
wow.
Um, so I think part of that is, this sort of like generation of a strong woman. In fact, my mother's mother in India was an OBGYN. So
Wow.
yeah, so kind of like
Okay.
this like generational approach to giving and being happy and working hard, I think kind of was like part of, not that that's not an issue for lots of families, but I think I could see that in my mom happening.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So yeah, um,
Mhm.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Wow, I never knew that. So I think that is an incredible point there that that your mom was like, hey, listen, being family is great. Clearly, I have one. I love you all. This is good, right? But make sure that you build something for yourself that no matter what you can stand. So that's a really great legacy
Yeah.
of hers. How is mom, by the way?
She's good. She's good.
Good,
She lives with us. So she's, yeah,
good,
for asking. Yeah.
good.
And I have to say, nowadays, I say the same thing to my children, even my son. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily a thing, right? Like, I think that's true for for whether you're male or female. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. So as you so you decided that you're going to go to med school and you decided that you were going to become a physician. Can you share maybe a little bit about going through that process? So while you're in school and you're going through undergrad and then you're going to med school and you've got residency and all of those things, can you share maybe one or two of the things that you felt like you had to work really hard to overcome or work
mm,
through during that time?
mm. I think I actually went through one of the accelerated pre-med programs for undergraduate school. So I ended up going
Okay.
to my undergraduate. And then at that time, it was actually it was Medical College of Pennsylvania. Then it turned into Hahnemann, and now it's
Oh, okay.
Drexel.
Hmm.
Um, but at that time, I feel like having been there for undergrad for just 2 years, I wasn't as prepared for some of the like book work
Oh,
things. So I really did my first year have to work harder to get up to steam.
okay.
And but what really kind of helped is actually that's kind of where I met my husband. So he was 1 year
Okay.
ahead of me in medical school, and so he initially, obviously there was a connection immediately, but he also helped me get through some of that first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, that's a perfect natural segue. So tell us a little bit about, meeting him and just going through that process, especially like in med school, like the grind of it all.
Yeah, I think really is he was 1 year ahead of me, so we met during like freshman orientation. I noticed him immediately.
Oh,
And he later
okay.
said he noticed me immediately across sort of
Mhm.
the room, sort of very
Yeah.
cliche-ish. Um, but we were both kind of shy. So it took a little while before we were able like to, you know, um, figure out that that was really mutual.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes
Uh,
sense.
but then we were basically together, probably after the third month of my first year in medical school, maybe fourth month. Yeah.
Wow. And so when you decided to get married, did you get married after you finished school? Or did you
Yeah.
how do you manage
First
that?
year residency in pediatric. So we finished medical school. He was 1 year ahead of me. He started working in Philadelphia. I got my residency position, and so I was an intern and pretty busy. So actually, my mom took care of a lot of our wedding. I didn't
Oh,
necessarily.
wow.
I didn't have like
That's
a big
awesome.
sort of like dream of how I wanted my wedding ever was. It was like I'm fairly practical, and so
Okay.
my mom planned it and kind of, I don't want to say we just showed up, but it was kind of like, it was like she did a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did she enjoy that? Was it like
Yeah, I think she did. I think it was
okay.
really kind of, as we're interracial. He's not
Okay.
Indian. So
Okay.
some of that was like mixing the two cultures together was easier than I think she expected.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, his family is very, very, they were just like, oh, it's up to you. We just happy he's getting married and found someone. They were
Oh,
very
okay.
generous with that too. And I don't think there was a lot of rules or sometimes, I don't know if this is specifically Indian weddings, but there can be a lot of drama. So it was low in drama. So that she appreciated.
Okay. Good. Good.
Yeah.
So did you have a traditional so you didn't have like a tradition did you have a traditional Indian wedding?
Yeah, we had a little, well, okay, traditional Indian weddings can be a big 3-day, 4-day.
Right. That's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
so it wasn't quite that. It was 45 minutes of a ceremony, but yeah,
Okay.
so we did an Indian ceremony for about 45 minutes, and then we came off the stage and did a traditional Western, like, do you take this woman to be your
Okay.
wedded wife? And we shared our vows then. And then
Okay.
it was just a great reception. It was just amazing seeing all these people from different cultures and ages doing the electric slide and things like that. It was just
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. So now I know this, but the audience doesn't. That you and your husband decided to serve outside of the U.S. as you were practicing. So can you tell us how you came to that decision?
Yeah, so we had both, I think, as we were dating and together, realized we like, sort of like more adventure travel or more of the like uh getting to know a little bit more communities and things like that. And so
Hmm.
right after residency, we actually went and worked at the Navajo reservation in
Oh,
north east Arizona for a couple years. And we were like, okay, let's try this and see how this fits for us. Because we have this general idea of kind of how we want to serve and how we want to practice. So that's a little bit of, and in fact, actually, it was rural, so we don't have all the support systems. It's very rural,
hmm.
so general pediatricians and, he's an internist, or he was an internist,
Hmm.
we were doing more than maybe someone would be on the East Coast, so just seeing more specialties, doing more procedures. In fact, we covered the emergency room together
Oh,
too.
wow.
At that time, they didn't have emergency room doctors, so seeing motor vehicle accidents and, all those things, so we both grew as our practice or what our we felt comfortable doing grew during that time. It was also nice because there's not a lot to spend money out there, and we got some loan forgiveness. We were able to pay off actually all our loans at that time too, which
Okay.
was an important piece of like moving then to Ethiopia, and then so we didn't have loans and we could volunteer our time. So that was part of where we were. So when we were on the reservation after 2 years, we thought, let's, our loans are done. Let's, and we were very fortunate to be able to do that again because of where we chose to work, but that also gave us the freedom, the financial freedom to be able to do some things globally. Um, and so we looked at a lot of different options. We are not religious per se, so we were looking for something secular, and we wanted to do something um, long term, not sort of something short term. So we
Hmm.
really looked at a lot of different options, Medicine Sans Frontiers, other, things, Doctors Without Borders or other organizations. But we didn't have a lot of experience doing global medicine. And then we came to a really great organization called La Lamba. Um, it's LALMBA, based out of Colorado. And they had been working in initially Eritrea and Ethiopia, a very small NGO. Um, so they had set up initially, he's a deacon in a church in Colorado, but when he was in the army, he was stationed in Eritrea, and he and his wife, who was a nurse, had seen the need there. And this was like, I can't even tell you how many years ago, probably 20, maybe now 30 years ago. It's, oh, must be over 30 actually. As I get older, either lose track of time, it must be 30, 40 years ago. Um, had set up a small clinic and hospital in Kenya, and they had some contacts in Ethiopia, in Colorado, in Ethiopia. And they're like, you really need to look at this place in Southwest Ethiopia called Chiri. They have no health care there. Um, the closest is 45 minutes. What about expanding services? So they had expanded to a little town called Chiri in Southwest Ethiopia. The road there had just been built about a year ago before we were there. And some other physicians and project managers had built the building and had started some of the services. And now they were looking, those people had been there for about a year and a half, 2 years. And so they're looking for some new providers and a new project manager. So we got connected with them. So that was a totally volunteer. So they really wanted someone there for like 1 to 2 years. But the fact that we were there together, my husband and I, and we could sort of together, him as an adult provider, me as a pediatric provider, could go out together and be a support system. Because really, there was no one else. It was just me, us two, and the project manager in terms of from the U.S. and then the rest of the Ethiopian staff who were still training. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, can you share a little bit about what that experience was like being, so you're in a foreign nation? Obviously, you're there because you share this desire to serve a developing nation and people who have less resources, but also you're married and working together.
Yeah.
So, like, what was that like? Was it, oh, this is great because it just gives us so much to bond,
Yeah.
so much time and so much space to bond, or was it like, this is a lot?
Yeah. Actually, the only time it was a lot was actually when we worked on the Navajo reservation. We both would cover the ER together, be the only doctors, and we definitely had different mindsets about the ER. The
Ah,
flow, so many patients, and I'm like, "There's more patients. We need to go. We need to work." And he was like, "There will always be patients," and I was
mhm,
like, and he was like, "There will always be patients. Let's take care of the ones we have, and make sure no one really sick is in the waiting room. But I don't need to go through. We don't need to like kill ourselves. But either way."
yeah.
Um, in Ethiopia, no, it was definitely bonding. It was so um, emotionally and physically taxing that
Hmm.
that we were together was incredible. The only negative is we were like quote unquote one of us was on call every other night. So of
Ah,
course
okay.
we're in the same room. That meant when we were basically on call 24/7 for a year. And that
Got it.
But overall, yeah. And it was interesting. We really did complement each other. I thought because I'm the pediatrician, I would do a lot of the GYN OB care because the OB, and that was something neither one of us was specifically trained to do. But there was a family practice doctor who was leaving, and it was funny because she, it was supposed to be me, but it was very clear I have no patience for stage 2 of labor, my own or other people's. I'm like, when is this gonna be over? This is too long. And so getting a team here, my husband's much more patient. And he's like, it's okay. I got this. I'll do this, and you get the baby afterwards. I got this. So he actually, during that time, really, he's an internist and a white man, really grew to make maternal fetal health his priority and his passion, which he didn't
Wow.
really until we were there. Uh,
Wow.
he was able to continue doing that in other places we worked. But like that was what he found, like how much he really like wanted to provide good quality care to women.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so you're in Ethiopia for how long?
A year. It was supposed to be a
Okay.
2 year stint, honestly, but it was really quite taxing. So we sort of served a population of over 100,000, and people were walking in. People were we didn't turn people away, right? They walked 3 days to get there, or their village carried them, or and there was just so much to do. But I do have to say, it's really gratifying. We were there in 2001, and I'll see pictures, and I'm still in touch with the organization. A lot of the people we trained are still there. So, right, like that
Oh,
was,
that's awesome.
sustainability is not 100% everything, but obviously a big, big, big issue. So they don't actually rely on um, physicians from America or elsewhere to be the care. They're now just overseeing it because the staff, the Ethiopian staff, have been trained so well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really proud of some of that because I see people, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that was 20 years ago," or over 20 years, and I still see so and so there, and I still see that's nice. That's
Yeah,
been
that's amazing.
yeah.
Awesome. So what was your next step?
So after Ethiopia, we actually came back to the US and we thought, okay, our family's all in the East Coast, Pennsylvania area. And we looked for jobs here and didn't find anything that we loved as much as the Navajo reservation. It was just
Oh,
a group
wow.
of people and colleagues. So we actually went back to the Navajo reservation and worked at Fort Defiance. That's the name of the hospital in the town there. So we ended up moving back there. At that time, we knew we wanted to have a family too, and it's a great place to actually start a family, even though you're for miles and an airplane flight from family. It's kind of like a group, a community itself there that's very supportive. We live on a compound by the hospital. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows whose kid's walking down the street, So we went back and while we were working there, had our daughter, Nina. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you share a little bit about what it's like to be um, a physician, a practicing physician, busy, and in your case, in a space that isn't as well resourced, um, and a mother, like even going through pregnancy,
Yeah.
and then like childbirth and raising a child in that kind of space. What was that like?
Um, Again, I have to say, it really, the community support, not that my family's not incredibly supportive, but that community support there was amazing. So I think as opposed to some of the areas that are more corporate,
Uh,
I think the emphasis on supporting pregnant women is a little bit
mm,
right. Like I think that's part of the Navajo culture, but also part of the people who tend to be out there, right? So understanding even before, having a breastfeeding room was important or having that break. I was lucky enough. I do have to say it wasn't just an understanding. This was like the reservation was interesting because there was a lot of women working, physician moms, who just set the tone. And in fact,
okay.
we've been someplace where there's so many physician moms and stay-at-home dads. Like it sort of turned that around, and so the culture was like, yes, you need to okay, go pump,
Hmm.
do that. Um, Being pregnant, the same thing. Like I think it was just I'm very, very lucky to have easy pregnancies. I was not throwing up. I wasn't.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I I kind of had to pay for it in my delivery, which was 29 hours. My daughter tried to come out my back. It wasn't working. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, so I was a little grumpy. And delivering in a hospital where I know everybody, I work with everybody. Yeah, I just told my husband, "I don't wanna see anybody. No one." Mm,
Listen, I don't care who you are and how incredible and nice and amazing you are as a person. When you're in labor, you can become a different person and it is allowed. It is 100% acceptable. It's culturally acceptable. It's totally fine. If you haven't been through labor, you do not understand it. Is there's you don't even know yourself what's going
yeah,
on in the moment. So,
100%. Yeah, you're
yeah.
just like it was like, okay.
Yeah.
But, afterwards, it was wonderful. So, and I was, again, very lucky to be able to have been able to stay at home for, I think I probably stayed home for 6 months, and then at some point, my husband and I were able to, kind of even though we did different jobs, we shared. So, because we were there for 2 years before, I think this is how this kind of got set up. We proved ourselves and that we're good workers, we know our stuff, and so the woman, Dr. Leister, who is still a good friend of mine, said, yes, when we came back, if you were to have kids, I can work it out. So one of you's home part, and the other one's home the other day. So we kind of jointly raised our daughter.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay, so that really does speak to you. The way you framed it is different than a corporate hospital
yeah,
system or mindset. So that really is a gift to be able to bring
it really is. It
children.
really
Yeah.
think that's kind of why we really wouldn't wanted to be here with our families, but we just felt it was important to be able to be there for our children, our future children at that time, and make a decision about what would work for us.
Wow, that's amazing. So you have your daughter, and then how long after before your son comes along?
Well, let me think. So when she was 2.5, maybe 3, we moved to Lesotho. Um,
Okay, so okay. See, this is great. I didn't know this. Okay,
yeah,
so she
and
she was
then
she went with you.
she went with us. So at that point, were like, oh, feeling like sort of the need to do global medicine again, feeling that itch.
Okay.
And actually accepted the job. Now this was a little different. It was through Baylor College of Medicine. Was Texas Children's Hospital was creating pediatric HIV care centers for excellence in Africa. So they were in 7 countries at that time, or starting this new program and this was new, like 7 countries, and I think they were primarily starting in 5 at that time, centers of excellence for pediatric HIV care. And so we actually accepted Lesotho without even knowing where it was in the map. We're like, wait, where? Okay,
Wow.
sounds good. So, again, someone who would take both an internist, which is interesting because this is a pediatric place. But y- so then we moved to Lesotho. So we did have a small salary. It was small, but they paid for our housing. They paid, and we were in the capital of Lesotho. So there was an international school there, which made it feasible.
Okay, so she could go to school.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there was a pre-K there. Yes, for sure. Big issue, right? Now we've got a little one and we can't
Yeah.
be in the far-flung regions, but how do we make this work? So that was a great opportunity. So primarily like Lesotho, Botswana, and South Africa kind of like take turns. Botswana and Lesotho having the highest HIV rate. So at that point, I think it was like 23% of adults were HIV positive. It might have been more.
Wow.
I look up the numbers now. Um, yeah, so like huge need, changing the stigma that this is not a death sentence. Their
Mhm.
medication, providing those medications was sort of the goal, along with healthcare. So when we
Amazing.
went, it was a beautiful building, like, I think Bayer. It was the pharmaceutical company, like, donated the money, so it was like this grant for, like, corporate America doing something, and then the Baylor College of Medicine providing the people, and the funding, the data funding, it was through the Lesotho Ministry of Health. So we had all 3 players, and we're providing healthcare to not those in the capital, but we were starting satellite out into the rural areas. And I think it was because my husband and I had worked so much in rural areas, like, that's kind of why they wanted us there too.
Got it. Okay. Does your daughter remember her time there?
I've asked her, no. I don't, not a whole lot. Probably pictures jog her memory, so I'm not sure how
Mhm.
much memories, but she was there from 3. So we were there for 3.5 years. So I think she maybe remembers some of at the end.
Okay.
She was little, and I do have to say, of my 2 kids, she's the more tentative one. So I think that there was a
Okay.
bit of, oh my gosh, we're leaving
Y-
her
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this school. We're in we're in Lesotho, and we don't, but she was in good hands. And at that time, then we were both working for the first time and leaving her be. So that was hard. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So while you were in Lesotho, so in being on the continent, so you'd already been in Ethiopia, and so then you were back, but in a different capacity,
yeah,
and you had taken that experience of being in the rural, remote parts of Ethiopia, and then also on the reservation, and then you were able to bring this
yeah,
to a better funded venture, but still serving. serving people. Before
Yeah.
we continue, I just want to ask you: is it something that you feel called to? Because you even the way you framed it was that you and your husband were feeling like the pull. Is it something that you feel called to? Because I don't no, I know plenty of physicians. Fun fact, I was a science major in undergrad. I was a chemistry major, so I was on the floor with all the pre-med folks. So I
Okay.
have a lot of my friends from undergrad are practicing physicians. I was just like, yeah, you know what, you guys, you got it. Because once I got to organic chemistry, I was like, I think I'm out. So I'm gonna switch majors and get out of here.
Yeah.
But the physicians I know, like not everybody has feels a pull. Some of them do it for other reasons, which there's no judgment about that. But do you feel like it's a call?
Yes. I is it a calling that I've recognized? I don't think so, but I feel like, and it's interesting, like to serve or calling, it's for me, like to a certain degree,
Mm,
it's selfish, right? This is what fills my bucket. It's like, it's not like I'm hurting myself or feeling in some way that I'm, um, what's what I'm thinking about, that
like
I'm,
sacrificing.
yes, then this is a sacrifice to me.
Hmm.
It feels like I'm filling my own bucket. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 I would say that is in line with what I've seen from you. So, as I already said, Dr. Goyle is Cameron's pediatrician, and she often has students with her. So, one of the things that I think is important, I know a lot of people do not like their to be examined by or have their children examined by students or have them in the room and things like that. For me, I'm always like, sure, you're learning from the great Dr. Goyle? Absolutely. She
Um,
can tell you all about my kid for sure. But seeing how students even like function and dive into their craft and their learning under you, that all makes sense to me. And I think it's really important, and not often do people share that as, yes, I'm serving, but this is selfish. I'm doing this for me too. Yeah.
like, I do feel there's a little bit of opening and openness, and there's a lot of connection that happens when there's people who are sharing, um, their struggle,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that I value that openness. Like,
Yeah.
I'm honored by, like, people sharing their struggle with me and
Yeah.
being part of their family, their extended family with some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so catch us up. So in Lesotho, and you're there for a few years.
Yep,
Keep
and
us
at
going.
that point, my husband, interviewed for a job with the CDC, doing HIV care in Vietnam, part of PEPFAR. This is when uh, George Bush, the younger, had actually extended pediatric or HIV care in other countries, and it was for Vietnam. And it was CDC, and I have to say it was kind of like the dream job, because how do we at that point we're like, okay, we have a child. We actually had tried to adopt in Lesotho, but they closed adoptions at that point.
Mm.
So, at that point also I was pregnant. So I'm in Lesotho. So once they closed adoptions, we knew we wanted another child. So I was pregnant, and we're like, okay, long term, it's not that it wasn't a huge, it was, it was a small amount, but not thing you would like be able to retire in the US or support children in the US with what we got. And then he had interviewed, and then we're like, oh, this is the dream job, right? We can keep doing what we're doing, but actually get a real, an American salary, and be able to do that. So he got, um, so at that point, I think I left Lesotho when I was probably 32 weeks pregnant. I had my son here, stayed with family. Um, and then we were off to Vietnam when my son was 6 or 8 weeks. I forget now. Between that, he was like about 2 months, and then we moved to, Hanoi with my daughter
Wow.
and my son. Yeah, because he had gotten this job doing HIV care in Vietnam, or being the head of the PEPFAR organization there, the physician, I should say.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was
Vietnam? Oh my gosh. Like, whoa.
so that move was stressful. And it's interesting, that was the first time we weren't working together, and that was a little bit of a struggle for me,
Mm,
because he when you get these old sort of fantasies, like, well, he's doing all this stuff at work and socializing, and I'm here with the kids, and and he's like, it's not fun at work. And I'm like, are you sure this is really hard? And that was the first time we had sort of that like experience where we
Of
didn't
be
know,
oh, yeah.
we intimately did not know what the other one's doing every day because we
Yeah.
worked in Ethiopia, we had worked on the res, we had done all that together.
Okay, so there was a more defined, like, division of labor, really, with home. Okay. Um, okay, so, um, walk me through your time there, kind of what how did the children fare? How did they adjust? What was their experience like? And then just kinda keep
Yeah.
going.
Nina started kindergarten in the Hanoi International School, which is a beautiful school. Like everything was golden, right? We were
Mhm,
like finally getting like we're doing what we're doing and being able to like translate that into a lifetime job.
mhm.
Great international school. My son was 6 months. Wait, yeah, he was 6 months, and then in October we had planned to spend some time in Singapore at a cousin who lived there. And my husband Matt had said, let me see if I can get a doctor appointment. I feel a little this weird numb spot on my back. Do you see it? Touch it. It feels weird. It feels weird. And I said, okay, yeah, you can get appointments in Singapore. Great doctors. So we went there for vacation, like just for like with the kids for a vacation, and we had an appointment with the doctor, and it was a great neurologist. And this is where things are a little bit definitely easier than the U.S. Right? We got saw a neurologist. He's like, this is different. He didn't like it. He's like, let me get you an MRI. We had an MRI
Mm, okay.
and then
So
the
then you
MRI.
had to jump through a bunch of hoops
Mhm.
to get more
Yeah,
evaluation.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I got an MRI and it showed something suspicious. And they were like, we don't know what it is. We don't know if it is an infection. We don't know if it's a mass. We don't know what it is, but you need more stuff and more studies. Um, and then they're like, we can't really do it here where we can, but you're not from here. So the embassy in Singapore medevaced us all back to the States with the thought that maybe it was an
Mm,
infection. Things had to move quickly.
okay. Okay.
So we just had our vacations. Like we were there for a
Mhm.
long weekend. We got medevac back to the U.S. and he had an MRI and it showed a brain tumor.
Wow. So you have your son is 6 months at this point when
Yeah,
this emerges. Can you
my
talk
daughter.
about 5? Okay.
Yeah,
So a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old. Can you talk about what from different perspectives? So as a wife and then as a mother, what was your initial response? Sort of like you know, I haven't thought about this. I'm just receiving the information. Like what was going through your mind?
it was a little bit of a. I think when we came to Christiana, there were still hopes that it was like something else. Um, like even MS. Like I remember thinking on the plane, my girl, like maybe it's MS. We were afraid actually it was going to be MS or something. But we actually came, and our friend of ours was a neurologist here, and got us a pretty quick MRI too, and
Mhm.
radiologist. And I think the radiologist was just like, oh, they're physicians, and had said something about like, yeah, it's a tumor. The question isn't what it is. It's like, do you want to do something about it? And I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, and I think he was just like, they don't do well. Like, do you want to do something? Do you even want to do something? And it was like, it hit me like hit me like a steel plate hitting me. Like, I was just like, what, what, what?
Yeah.
Um, and I remember I'm like my 6 month old because I still have them. And
Mhm.
we're like, "Ah, this is happening. So that like, and then, of course, being a physician, then we're like, oh, okay, glioblast, he had at that point a diagnosis of a astrocytoma, which is a grade 3, but often they will become a grade 4. Yeah. So at that point, it was just like, yes, we're going to do something. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it was, of course, yes. And you're young and you're strong. He was 40.
Wow. 40 years old. So, and can you share what his mindset was, and kind of like how
Mhm.
he handled it and worked through it?
Um, I think he was just, "I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna fight,
Hmm.
I'm gonna for you, for the kids,
Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna do
yeah.
everything." We're like, "Yes." There was not a question of that.
Okay,
I think he was really focused on that. Um, as things progressed, I think as he got sicker and needed more medications and, um, he was still fighting, 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 but I think we both at that at some point also, in the stages, there's stages of grief and stages. I think we were in denial too for a long time,
sure.
thinking, "Okay, things are okay, we're getting through this," and, um, when that I don't know when that changed for either of us specifically. I think for both of us too, not just denial, I think I kind of picture myself, and I'm not a huge football, like, fan, so I think but what I picture myself at that time was kind of like a linebacker. I just kinda had my head down, "I'm gonna take care of the kids, I'm gonna take care of him," and, obviously, I did that with also not on my own. I had the support of my family here, my sister, my mom, his sister were all sort of in this immediate area, and so they all sort of converged to, like, help care for the kids, and, so I could take him to radiation or to his infusions, and, um, yeah.
Yeah. So, what was it like getting to the sort of understanding that the fight wasn't going to end the way you wanted it to end?
At points when he, lost the left side of his body, I was like, even if the radiation and the chemo, he's gonna be in a wheelchair, which I was, we'll adjust. But at that point then, um, okay, that was like one hurdle. Okay, he's not gonna be the Matt that I know it necessarily, but we can make, adjustments. And he's, is doing everything. He's still trying to reading with the kids and like all those things that were so important. Um, and then I think as things kind of happened a little quicker because there was at some point they weren't sure if it was his progression was tumor or swelling in his brain, and he had
Mm,
biopsy, a repeat biopsy scheduled and I remember at that point in an MRI, and the neurosurgeon said like, "Yeah, it looks like tumors like up to his skull now, like this," and he's like, "But this was actually we're in the pre-op area. He's going to go." He's like, I can take a biopsy, and we'll just I don't know what at that point, look, retroscope, we probably shouldn't have done that, but he did still take the biopsy because we're like sitting there. He's like next on the schedule, and let's just make sure. And we're like, okay, let's just make sure. But that caused a ton more swelling. So then he was in the ICU, and that's where he um, ended up going really south. So kind of like we knew he had actually said some not goodbyes, but he had like called his brother and some other family members that, we knew at that point like this could go either way. And still hoping for the best, but then it went pretty badly quickly.
yeah. So, how did you walk your children through this experience?
Yeah, that was, my son was young. He was 2, like, he didn't know what was going on.
Hmm.
Um, my daughter it was hard. Like, when he was sick and when he was, going through things, again, we not necessarily denial, and I think about this all the time. It was kids just want to be happy, and
Hmm.
she's pre-K, her friends are coming over, and these are still friends she has, like her best friend to this day. They would play dress up and like dance around, and like we were like, oh, never mind, the fact that this was just dad at that point then too,
Hmm.
um, up until that point, and then maybe so when he passed, she was definitely like hiding in the closet, like this is not, I'm not going to hear this,
Mm,
and I think she did later. She had a hard time, yeah. Like, it was we did a lot of, like, grief counseling in different groups, and I think she was doing other things. She became a little OCD, like, was hoarding things for a little bit that I
mm,
figured out later. Um, but in general now with appearances, she wanted to be a kid, and so did RJ. My son was only
mhm.
2. He didn't really know. So, on one hand, I think about this, should we have talked about it specifically, much
Mm,
more did. Or I took their cues and like I just wanted she went back to kindergarten. Her teachers
mhm,
knew everybody. And the routine, I was like the routine of everything was good for her and it was good for me too. So while they were having fun and like I kind of faked it for a while,
mm,
like smiles and laughter, but I actually in the end it made me happier too. Like it helped me get over it. Right? Like
yeah.
fake until it was real was kind of what I did for a while.
Mhm. So you mentioned going through counseling. Did you was that something that you stuck with for a while just to manage through the experience?
Um um the short answer is no, and I'm embarrassed to say this because I feel like that's not the right answer. But I had a couple counselor therapists that I didn't particularly connect with. Um, and honestly, what helped me the most are my friends. Um, I had formed some really good, like two really good friendships here, and I had like friendships from when I worked on the Navajo reservation. And boy, did I lean on my friends. So, like, at times when I was like, "Oh my gosh, I think I need to take an antidepressant." No, let me just organize everybody to get together for dinner or,
Hmm.
that, they were there for me. And my family was there for me. My sister was there for me, my mom, and, um, that that got me through it. Yeah, like, more like just leaning on those people, and they were there to lean on.
I think that really, I don't think there's a wrong answer for how to handle a situation that you never handled, and I think it brings the full circle connection to why your experience at the reservation was so impactful is because of the community. So to know that that's what brought you through it,
Mhm.
being able to lean on your community makes sense to me. It does.
Did go through some again, she was very good at, like, hiding what she didn't wanna talk about. So, it took both finding a therapist she connected with, but also to at a certain age where she found a connection, and she was really
Mhm.
able to.
Yeah, good. Um, and so I was thinking about by the time I met you, there have been, years have passed
Mhm,
um, since your husband passed away. And by the time I met you, the way you talked about it I found it, this is what I found interesting about our initial conversation was that sometimes when people handle something that is so tragic and, y- unexpected and heavy, that sometimes they lead with it in a way that's like, oh, this really big thing happened to me. So, it's very, they're very forward with that. Or they're dismissive of it.
mhm.
Like, yep, that happened. All good. We're good over here. Don't you worry about it. I'll still care for your kid, kind of thing. But it wasn't that. There was this, and again, I've thought about this, post our conversation. There was, you were very much like, this is how I came to where I am now, because the thing that you shared about how you practice medicine is that you shared your availability as a physician, and
Oh,
you're like,
okay. Yeah,
and you said this is how you got to it. You said, these are the days I work. So
yeah,
like, basically I don't work 5 days. I don't work like I don't do that. And you specifically said, I am not working somewhere else. I am parenting.
yeah,
And I was like, and you said, and I recognize how privileged I am to be able to do that.
yeah.
Um, and I thought to myself, sign me up. Does she take adults? I like her. um, but it was really the way you talked about it was very much like this has shaped a lot of who I am, and
Yeah,
this is how I'm choosing to manage through it. And I am all in on being a mom and supporting my children. And so that I'm not working somewhere else. I'm just not here. I'm
yeah,
I'm just not at work.
yeah.
So I
And,
thought that was great.
it was both mine and Matt's, very much family oriented. He came from, this is the important thing.
Speaking of, are how are your and the children connected still to his family?
Oh, really, very much so. So,
That's awesome.
yes, his sister lives about an hour away, and she happens to have two kids, and they're very similar to age as my kids. So
Okay.
even after he passed, we saw each other a lot. We still
Mhm.
vacationed every year at the beach together. We still do. And because my family's not necessarily Christian, we can do holidays like the Christmas holidays up with them. And that's been a
That's
big
great.
part of them growing up, right? Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Um, Hold on. Actually, let's break that. Why don't we treat rest like a reward instead of a need? Like, why do we have to finish the list, answer every email, show up for everyone else before we're allowed to stop? Somewhere along the way, we learned that rest means laziness and exhaustion means dedication. But being tired all the time is not a badge of honor, it's a warning sign. So, yeah, let's break that. Get some rest. Prioritize it, in fact. Uh, we are unbreakable, but some stuff actually does need to be broken. And so, as we kind of seek to maybe land the plane a little bit, we'll start our descent. I want to know from you, have you thought about how resilient you are? Have you ever actually considered your own resilience?
Oh, I think when you first brought it up, maybe. But there were times when I felt like there are times, and I'm glad we sort of talked a little bit about Ethiopia. There are times when something tough is going to happen, and I lay on that. I kind of call like it was my like it wasn't Peace Corps, but it was like a medical Peace Corps. I'm like, I did that. Like I can do this. Like I was there, I did that. This I can do. This is easy. Like I got through that. I think a little bit of that has been a sort of my mindset a little bit as things went through. Not necessarily related to Matt's illness, but yeah, that I think being able to show up for myself there was helpful.
Yeah. The thing that stood out to me when when I asked you about telling your story, and I was sort of saying to you, how I was experiencing hearing your story. And one of the things you said to me is like, everybody has something,
Yes.
everybody's going through something.
Yes.
And that's 100% true.
Yes.
And also, I hope that you are aware of how resilient, how courageous you are, because to be able to stay present for yourself and for your children, and then for other families. This is what I thought about.
Mm,
You work with other families. You work with, like, when we came to meet you, it was me and my husband and our unborn child, right? So you are in the space of family, and you get to see other families and their children,
yeah.
and you have experienced this loss of n- y- not just the person in your husband, and like, who you loved and cared about and for and were connected to, and the father of your children, but also the loss of the life that you planned,
Hmm.
right? And so I think that it is incredible for you to show up in spaces where you actually see, families, and to not have, well, I don't want to speak for you, but I know how the way you show up for us, there's you like, you show up as, I'm here to help. I'm here to, make sure that your child is well. And you do that with like full heart,
Well, thank you.
you know.
I think going back to how we started, I think well, thank you for that, first of all, yes. it's really the connections we all make. I don't want to say it's me. Like and I think not to be on a soapbox in that like sort of this digital world, we lose how much our interpersonal connections make us who we are and are so whether my interaction and I work in a place where there's a lot of struggles, our
Hmm.
family, a lot going on, and I can't fix that. Like there's a lot I can't do, but like
Right.
just that connection of I have a relationship with someone, is so it makes us better people. Like it just
Yeah.
makes our
Yeah.
experience more colorful and enlivening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, what are you looking forward to right now in your life?
Um, oof, oof. I'm in a good place, right? I've met a wonderful man. He's helped raise my children. My mom is doing well and it's like still a great support person for us and my kids. And um, yeah, I'm not sure. As I'm getting older too. I don't know, thinking about retirement, but I'm not quite there yet. So,
Mm-mm. No, 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 no.
um,
Cameron is 5, so we've got what? What's that? Another 13 years? Don't do it, please.
Well, actually, you mentioned something to me just as a side, that kind of hones into what I'm hoping, right? My hope is to raise children and kids into adults who are caring, self-sufficient, and how, I think the caring part is there, but like, everything that you want, like to do so your kids can be good people um, and this is just a funny statement because you had mentioned in one of your previous jobs, like you realize there are kids who don't know how to iron their shirt.
Yeah.
We're having this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. Yep.
And I was like, you know what? Sometimes when you're busy and you're a working parent, these things you do for kids is actually something that ends up, I'm like, does he know how to iron a shirt? He does. I don't know. He's on a college soon. But we don't know how. And so we've been like doing life skill things. But really, I mean, he's ironing the shirt. Yes, we iron the shirt, and yes, he can. But thinking, I think a little bit more. My focus is my patients and my work, but also, but it's always been family. So, making sure not making sure, but doing what I can to be staging it, my parenting in a different way. Um,
Yeah. That's awesome. So you have your daughter is graduating?
she's graduating from college, and she's going to be
Congrats.
now the fourth generation female doctor. She got accepted into medical school.
Amazing. Congratulations to her and to you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Has she thought about specialty yet?
No, no.
Okay. Just in case just let her know. Just make sure you tell her how good pediatrics is because if you retire while Cameron is still a child, I could trust the
Okay.
switch, it's but great. And then your son is graduating high school.
Yes. Yep. So he'll be going.
Wow.
He's unsure, probably something computer science oriented, but yeah, we'll see. To
Yeah.
be, yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna ask one other quick question. What was it like for you to open your heart again? You mentioned that you have a partner. How was that? Was that like a journey? Were you conscious of it, or was it just something that just naturally happened at the space that you were in your life?
Um, a little bit of both, I think. Actually, my husband Matt actually said to me, which I think at that time I was like, "What are you talking about?" But he said, "Make sure you meet someone else. The kids are going to need. You can do it on your own. Like I want you to. Don't ever like the kids need." He was more concerned about the kids. He's like, "The kids will need a father." But I
Hmm.
think like when Matt passed away, I was 38. So it was just after probably 5 years or so. Met some other people, but really, my partner now, yeah, it shares so much. And he actually has lost his wife too.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
together with that, not that someone else can understand, but I definitely do feel like someone who's lost a spouse sort of understands how your heart works a little bit, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a gift, and I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
for you.
you. Yes.
Um, so is there anything else that you would want to share, or want people to know about Matt? Um, before we close, because I want to make sure that we honor his memory and legacy as
Yeah.
well.
Thank you. That's really kind. He was a great father. Yeah. He was just, and he cared so much about kids, even though he was an internist, he really cared about families. And so I think that's what he made his goal in life. And we see it in our immediate family, and we see it in all the families he touched in Lesotho and in Ethiopia too. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been the gift episode.
So
Um,
honored that you asked me. It really, and like you said, everybody's going through something. And I think I've been listening to your podcast too, and really, really feeling the some of your guests. So that's been
Awesome. Well, I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you so much for being willing to share. W- I'm certain that people who listen to this episode will be struck by your resilience, and um, I am grateful that I get to have you as part of our village for Cameron. But also, I'm really thankful for the ways that you have helped my husband and I as we've raised Cameron, and excuse me, in so many spaces, so many times where things are just uncertain and we just didn't know.
yeah.
Um,
It's been an
you know,
honor. The
yeah,
two have been yeah, and Cameron just broke my heart. Like it. Sorry, I don't
yeah.
know.
No,
I
no, he
see.
oh, he's been eating vegetables. I want you to know this. He has been eating vegetables since his physical, because I'll tell the audience that Dr. Goyle asked him what are his favorite vegetables, and he said, "I don't eat vegetables. Me and Daddy don't eat vegetables." And I was like, "That's true." And she said, "Well, you have to try and choose two vegetables to try." And he came home and he told his dad. I wasn't even in the room. He said, "I looked at his plate and there was broccoli on it, and my husband said he said Dr. Goyle told him that he needs to eat some broccoli and some carrots." So he put that on his plate. He takes like one small bite of broccoli. He's like, "I can't do this." He's like, "I don't want it." And so he's like, "Oh, no, I can. I can." He like psychs himself up and he eats the broccoli. He eats his carrots and he's like, "Look, mama, I ate the broccoli." And then I always have vegetables on my plate. And so he's like, "Mom, the next night, can I have some of your broccoli?" Absolutely, Cameron. You absolutely can. So changing lives.
With him, I'm proud of him. Yes.
Yeah.
Sending
Yeah.
that little video, and I was like, okay, yeah, he tried. He,
Yeah. But he right after he like psyched himself up. He was like, "Okay, I can do it. Can I have another piece, mommy?" It's like, this great undertaking. But yeah, he's been eating
that's
vegetables. So
great, great,
yeah,
great. That
yeah,
makes me happy. Tell him
yeah.
I'm happy.
I will. It definitely speaks to how impactful your voice is for him, and how impactful you've been for our family. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Unbreakable Her podcast. We will see you next time. Until then, stay unbreakable.